Hi, my name is Jonathan Hawkins. I'm a senior designer here at Sony Santa Monica, and I designed the Lost Atlantis level for God of War 2. So when I started designing Atlantis, I usually start all my designs on paper. It helps me kind of get the ideas or the images that I have in my head down into like a form that I can, easily show somebody. It's funny looking back at this. A lot of this is a little way too detailed for the initial layouts, and knowing what I know now, it's it cracks me up. Just how all out I went. But this is like my first chance to design a level. From the start, and I was working as a sound designer or sound implementer on God of War 1, and I had done one puzzle for God of War 1, and so this is my big chance. So I really wanted to knock it out of the park. Okay, so here's basically the start of the Atlantis level. This is the first pass, initial kind of mock-up. It's pretty funny looking back at how I used to build things before I was kind of taught the ways by some of the other more senior designers here. But yeah, basically this is the start of the level. Some secret areas, just swim training, navigation, that kind of stuff. Here you came up to like a little puzzle, and you can kind of see in the drawings there's like a vent, and you had to put push block in there to kind of stop it, otherwise you wouldn't be able to get through. So we came up with the idea of the water zip lines, and this was a way of giving these great vista shots underwater, and still being able to traverse and feel like you're moving through large spaces and feeling like this area is much larger than it really is. Eventually, it would take you up here, another kind of big fight to a zipline area. Here you'd get like a precursor of the Kraken. And so he was always supposed to be the boss here and not in the palace. And I remember I had like a little eyeball kind of come here, open up, and then kind of like shoot out. It was pretty funny. Yeah, just some other weird puzzle here. Not quite sure how it works anymore. So this is kind of the very rough initial prototype. It's pretty funny for me to kind of go back and look at this and see how I initially kind of approached level design and how I was kind of building. A lot of this is very inefficient, and it's kind of like a trip down memory lane here. But this is pretty much the initial kind of 3D representation of my drawings here. I kind of basically threw out the initial tower design. Design is a very iterative process. A lot of times you got to kind of just keep working on it and throwing out different ideas until some things stick. So this idea was that there was going to be a giant prison here in Atlantis at the bottom of the ocean. Here there were going to be these different prisoners inside of each of these cells. If you can kind of see here, there's all these different cells. And it was a multi-layered kind of puzzle and area. You'd come through here and have different fights. There was like a torture room in here. There was some puzzle where you, I think, killed somebody with a ballista. And the entire time that there's like water spilling into this area from where you had busted in from the outside here. And the water was coming in and going down this drain down here. And when you would unleash the ball, break the statue, the ball would come and the rubble would basically close up the tubes here. And that would eventually start filling the entire prison full of water. I wonder if the animation's still here. Oh yeah, here it is. So all these people you're kind of like sitting there floating around, and you're hearing all these people dying and screaming. So I thought it was kind of cool, like a really kind of brutal way, something that creators would definitely do. This would eventually lead to a combat puzzle, and this actually turned into the puzzle inside of the palace. And the spike ceiling is coming down on you, and guys are jumping in, and you're trying to manage the time between the two. So originally we didn't have stop time, it was slow down time. And I wanted to kind of take advantage of that and use that for this puzzle here. So there was all these kind of flames kind of going on, and this is like a big boiler with like a Icarus vent. and you would be able to fly in this Icarus vent, but you couldn't get all the way through up to the top area here where there was a puzzle. So you'd eventually have to kind of figure out, you'd have to get back here into this room, but there was all these flames going on. So you would come over here, pull the lever, hit the slowdown time, and try to time your run through this lever. And it was a pretty cool feeling because the flames were there, and it made for like a good little timing puzzle. We had a Hermes run mechanic, so you'd basically kick up on these walls and be able to dash up the walls up here and get up to these different areas where you had to back jump off and platform and kind of go around, and I forgot exactly what you did, and move to these different areas. Here you'd then have another experience with the Kraken, and his tentacles would kind of come out. You'd be like walking down the hall like, oh la la la, poof, he comes out, and you're trying to get out of the way, and then basically back into the boss arena. So you can kind of see how this changed from the original one to this kind of version. I think overall we ended up spending like 3 or 4 months on it, and this was the section that I was assigned to. But as the story of God of War 2 drastically changed from the initial stage into the later, a lot of the game just kind of got scrapped. And I remember Scat told, or Steve Catterson, one of our producers, he told me, Johnny, don't get so bummed out, and you have to take pride in working on it, in the process of actually working on it. And that is what you should get your day-to-day enjoyment out of, and being able to go through the creative process. And losing stuff and having things cut is part of the creative process. So that helped me out, and helped me learn a lot about how to get toughen up. As a designer, you have to have tough chops, and roll with the punches. So thanks for checking out the Lost level of Atlantis for God of War 2. I wish you guys could have played it, but sometimes that's how it goes. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.